Yeah.
Test, test, test.
Are you starting?
Yeah, I started. I'm just seeing if the audio works.
Let me check real quickly. The link.
Alright, it works fine. I'm gonna end the call and start.
Alright. Bye.
Bye. Alright. I'm gonna give things a minute or two before we get involved. But yeah. Then of course if you have questions before I start, feel free to ask. But I'll start in like 2 minutes, probably 5:35. I'm planning to start, just to get things settled and make sure everything's okay. So yes, we'll be going over 4 different questions. Looks pretty simple. Alright, yeah, this looks pretty simple. 5:30, 3:35, okay. Just about a minute more, and then I'll start. Alright, 1 more minute. It's gonna be the best live stream ever. Alright. Right before I start quickly, just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. It's probably gonna be more simple or quicker than the other live streams. I'm guessing based on the questions. They seem pretty straightforward and simple. So yeah, shouldn't take too long. Maybe 20 minutes max. But let's get this started. So, question number 12, which is TEK 6.2D. The weights of 4 people are shown in pounds: 9.5, 9 and 3/8, 9.125, and 9 and 3/4. Which list shows these weights in order from greatest to least? So we'll start off with the greatest and then go to the least. So, how can we go about solving this problem if we're going to list them in order from greatest to least? So, what would you think is easier to work with? There's decimals and there's fractions. Personally, I think decimals are going to be a lot easier to work with here. We're going to be like converting the fractions into decimals so we can exactly know what number is what. Makes it easier. So I'm going to be converting all these numbers to decimals, just because it's easier than having to convert decimals to fractions and simplify. Way too much work. So we'll just be converting to decimals. I want to bring up my handy dandy notepad. Hopefully you guys can see it well. So we have 9.5. Let's write that down. 9.9.5. Now that is already in decimal form, which is great. So let's write an arrow saying down. It is converted into 9.5 because decimal, you don't need to convert it into any other form. It's already in decimal form. Next up on the list is 9 3/8. Now the thing with fractions is it's mostly about just knowing it. It's just knowing 1/4, what 1/6 is, what 1/8 is, etc. When it comes to eighths, every 1/8 is equal to 0.125. Meaning, let's say it was 9 1/8. Let's just say, for example, that number said 9 1/8. 9 1/8. That would be equal to the 9 here, 9, and 1/8 is equal to 0.125. So it'd be 9.125 if it was 9 1/8. But it is not 9 1/8. We have 9 3/8, meaning we'll have this here times 3. So what is 0.125 times 3? Well, 0.125 times 2 is 0.25. And 0.25, sorry if this gets a bit messy, but if you're following along, you should understand the general idea. 0.125 plus 0.125 equals 0.375. Meaning, if we take our 9 that we have already, the 9 here, you see right here we have the 9 3/8. It would be 9, and what did we get? 3/8 is equal to this number, 0.375, 9.375. And then we can move on to our next number, 9.125. 9.125. I'm going to move over a bit so it's easier. 9.125. We can convert that into a decimal, but it's already in a decimal form. So we can write it as 9.125. And our last number is 9 3/4. So we'll write down 9 3/4. And with fourths, each fourth is equal to 0.25. But we have 3 of those. So we'll just be multiplying this 1/4 times 3, which is equal to 0.75. So we take the 9 and we add the decimal, which would be 0.75, 9.75. So now we've successfully converted all of our decimals, all of our fractions, into one common form, one decimal form. They're all in decimal form, so it's easier to read. Put them in greatest to least order. Greatest to least order. So let's put them in order. Out of these 4 numbers, which one is the greatest? We'll start off with the greatest. 9.5, 9.35, 9.125, or 9.75. Well, this one here is 9.3, or no, this is 9.125, 9.375, this is 9.5, and this is 9.75. And we know this 7 is bigger than all of those other numbers, so we can say this here will be our number 1 number in the sequence because it's from greatest to least. And then we're going to go, what's the next greatest number after 9.75? Well, that would be this one right here, 9.5. So this would be our number 2 number. And then what would be our next one? Next one would be 9.375. So this one would be number 3. And then after that, there's only one left, which should be 9.125, which is our number 4. So let's go back over here for a second. Actually, I'll keep this here. Maybe it might be easier. We can try it here. So we have, this is what we're going to focus on. I'm going to circle it so it's a bit easier. This is what we'll focus on. All of our numbers have been converted and they've been marked as what is greatest and what is least. So we can say the greatest is 9.75. So we'll write 9.75, right? No, that is wrong. Because we converted this. We converted this 9 3/4 into 9.75. So the first number in the sequence will actually be 9 3/4. And then there's something after that. Meaning we can automatically eliminate these two answer choices because this is 9.5, that's not 9 3/4. This is 9.125, that's not 9 3/4. Here we have a 9 3/4, here we have 9 3/4. So let's go on to the next number. The next number in the sequence is number 2, which is 9.5. So 9.5. So which do they both have 9.5? This is 9 3/8, not 9.5, so we can eliminate this. This is 9.5. And at that point, you don't even need to put the rest of the equation or answers in order because we know these 3 are wrong. So it can only be one answer choice, leaving the correct answer choice as F. 9 3/4, 9.5, 9 3/8, and 9.125. So the basic of that question is just knowing how to convert fractions into decimals and knowing which numbers are larger than the others and which numbers are smaller. Let's go on to the next question. Number 16. 4 points are labeled on the number line. Then we have all these points and a number line. Which point best represents 1/3? So we have 4 points. We have point K, point L, point M, and point N. 4 different points, which are also our 4 different answer choices. So we want to know which one of these represents 1/3. Well, we can see on this number line there are all these ticks. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ticks. And it ranges from 0 to 0.5. So the easiest way to find out what each of these are numbered is if there's 11 total ticks, just subtract 1. So count the ticks. There's 11 total ticks. Subtract 1, because we'll get to that later. But subtract 1, which is equal to 10. You'll then take this last number on the number line, 0.5. 0.5, and you'll divide it by this number. So 0.5 divided by 10. 0.5 divided by 10 equals 0.05. And what's so special about this number? This number is how much we will go up each tick on the number line. So let's write it. I'm going to write it on the top actually so it's easier. 0, then we're going up by 0.05, correct? So 0.05. And then what's 0.05 plus 0.05? 0.10. What's that plus 0.05? 0.15. What's 0.15 plus 0.5? 0.2, and so on. So I'll finish writing these down. Hopefully you get the point. So after we finish labeling these quickly, so we know about where each point is in the number line, we can go back to our question, and our question is asking us, which point best represents 1/3? So, what is 1/3? Well, in math class we learn 1/3 represents a third of a whole, and one whole is equal to 1. Let's just say 1. What is 1/3 of this? 1/3 is 0.33. So we'll go back to our number line and say, which of these is most likely or represents 0.33 best? So we can go up our number line. We see this one is 0.10 between 0.15. That's like 0.125, meaning it's not K. So this cannot be our answer choice. This one is 0.15 in the middle of 0.15 and 0.2, which is not close to 0.33. So we can say it's not L. And then we can go up to our next one. M. It's in the middle of 0.3 and 0.35. So maybe. This could be our answer choice. Maybe. We'll see. And then we have our last answer choice, which is N in the middle of 0.4 and 0.45. And that is not the answer choice. So we know 1/3 is 0.33, and after finding the increments, we can say M is in the middle of 0.3 and 0.35, which is most likely to be 0.33, meaning our answer choice is point M. Pretty simple, and of course, I'm not perfect, so if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. I'll stop whatever I'm doing and I'll try to get to those as fast as possible. But let's get to our next question. Our next question is, we have two questions after this actually. This one and then the one after, and then we'll be done. 4 points are labeled on the number line. So it was kind of what we did up here with the number line. We're using a number line again. So 4 points are labeled on the number line. Which point represents the value of -1/2? Now, you may be thinking, there's these bars around the number. What does that mean? So all these bars mean is absolute value. Let's write it down. Absolute value. Absolute value. That's what those bars mean when you see them surrounded by a number. So how do we get the absolute value of this number, -1/2? Well, first we have to know what absolute value means. Absolute value means how far away this value is from 0. Meaning, if we have 0 and -1/2 is right here, let's say -1/2 is right here. How far away is it? It doesn't matter if it's negative, it doesn't matter if it's positive, it's 1/2 away from 0. So the absolute value of this number equals 1/2. So which point best represents the value of -1/2? Or absolute value of -1/2, I should say. When it comes to absolute value, you're asking how far away is it from 0. So there's no such thing as a negative value when they're asking for an absolute value. You can't say, what's the absolute value of -1/2 and say it's -1/2, because it's not -1/2 away, it's just 1/2 away from 0. It doesn't matter which direction, it's still 1/2 away from 0. Meaning it can't be any of these negative answer choices. So we can rule out P and Q automatically. Meaning we have 2 answer choices left. Now we have to analyze this and see which one would best represent the value of 1/2. So we have R, which is in between 0 and 1. And then we have S, which is 2. S equals 2. But we are looking for the value of 1/2. And S is not 1/2. So we can rule out S. Meaning our only logical answer choice that's left is R, which is indeed equal to 1/2. And on to the last question. Mari used a thermometer to record temperatures of negative 3.4 degrees Celsius and 1.6 degrees Celsius. Which temperature in degrees Celsius is less than both of the temperatures Mari recorded? So, which temperature, meaning which of these answer choices in degrees Celsius, is less than both of the temperatures Mari recorded? Meaning, let's write down the values she recorded. She wrote down negative 3.4 degrees Celsius, and she wrote down 1.6 degrees Celsius. So what value is less than 1.6 and what value is less than 3.4? So all we need to do is use these answer choices in the process of elimination to figure that out. So we'll check. Negative 2.6. Is that less than the value here, negative 3.4? Well, let's just write a number line quickly so it's a bit easier to see how this works. 0, we have negative 3.4, negative 3.4, that's 1, let's write negative 1, negative 2. Let's say negative 3.4, let's say this is equal to negative 3.4. Negative 3.4. Negative 2.6, that'd be 1, 2. Negative 2.6 would be about here. So is this value less than this value? And that's not true. If it was less, it would be more down here. It'd be more left on the number line. So we can say F is not our answer. And then, of course, we're just using the process of elimination here, and we can move on to our next choice. 3.9 degrees Celsius. Is that less than negative 3.4? Well, let's put 3.9 on the number line. We can do 1, 2, 3. We can say 3.9 is right about here. So, is this value here less than that value there? No, because it's way to the right on the number line. It should be to the left of this value on the number line, or less than, which is not true. So we can rule out G. Next, we have negative 5.4. So, let's put that on the number line. Let's say it's here. Negative 5.4. Because negative 5.4 is less than negative 3.4. Yeah, so is this value less than this value? Is it more left of it on the number line? Yes, it is. But you have to remember, there's two values here. It's not just this one negative 3.4 value. There's two values here. 1.6 as well. So, is negative 5.4 less than 1.6? Well, we haven't graphed the 1.6 yet. 1.6 would be right about here. Is this less than, or is negative 5.4 less than 1.6? Well, it's to the left of it, isn't it? And it's less than it. So yes, it is less than it. Meaning, this could very well be our answer choice. I would mark this as our answer choice, but under the circumstances where we are just checking the answer choices, we need to double check and make sure we didn't make a mistake. So let's just check this last value just to be sure. Is 0 less than negative 3.4c? We have 0 graphed here, negative 3.4c graphed here. 0 is to the right of it on the number line, and it's greater than negative 3.4, meaning it's not 0 either. So our only answer choice would be H. And that's it. That's the 4 questions we had for the numbers and operations live stream for 6th grade. I'll zoom out so you guys can see a bit of the work. We did some work on a snip on our like a little bit. We did a little bit of work on our mini notepad as well. But those were the 4 problems we solved. If you guys are still confused about anything, don't hesitate to ask. I'll answer it. I won't be offended. Don't be scared. Honestly, just ask it, because nothing else better for me to do than answer your questions right now. So if you are confused, please ask the question. Don't be scared. I will help you answer it, and I'll try my best to explain it. Other than that, that's about it for this live stream. If no one has questions. And if you don't have questions or don't want to listen for other people's questions, then you guys can go. That's it for today. That'll be the last live stream of today. That'll conclude things. I'll give everybody a minute or two, maybe a minute and a half to send some questions in if there are any. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody who tuned in to any of the streams today, thank you a bunch for tuning in. It means a lot to us. I hope we could help you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. That's our job. So yeah, I'll give a bit more time for questions. Doesn't look like there's any questions, which is great. So I guess there's no questions. I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. Have a great night. Make sure to do good in school and try your best. And good night and goodbye. This will be the last